I'll never forget the night my son called me, his voice trembling with a kind of fear I had never heard before. He said, "Mom, this is impossible. She's on my flight, but you told me she was at home." I froze. My heart stopped beating for a second. He was talking about my daughter, his sister, but she was at home. I had just checked her room, kissed her goodnight, and pulled the blanket over her shoulders only hours before. So how could she be on his plane, thousands of miles away, boarding under another name? That was the beginning of the most terrifying, heartbreaking chapter of my life. It was past midnight when the phone rang. I almost didn't pick up. I thought maybe it was just a wrong number or some spam call, but then I saw my son's name flashing on the screen. He was a young pilot, proud of his career, and usually so composed, so calm. But that night, when I answered, he wasn't calm. He was panicked. "Mom," his voice cracked. "I think I just saw her. I swear to God, I saw her walk onto the plane. She looked right at me." I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. "Who, honey? You mean a passenger looked like someone you know?" "No, Mom. Not someone I know. Someone I love. It was her. My sister. Your daughter." I felt ice in my veins. "That's impossible," I whispered. "She's here. She's safe." I tucked her in myself. But he cut me off. "Then explain this. She got on my flight, in another city, under a different name. I checked the manifest. She bought her own ticket. What's going on?" I felt my knees give way. My daughter was only 16. Sweet, shy, still recovering from the loss of her father 2 years ago. She wasn't the kind of girl to run away. Or so I thought. I rushed upstairs, my hands shaking, and opened her bedroom door. The bed was empty. The blanket I had tucked around her was folded neatly, like she had made it before leaving. On the desk, her school books were gone, her backpack missing. And then I saw the note. Just 3 words. "Don't look, Mom." My legs buckled, and I sat on the floor, clutching the paper. My daughter, my baby, was gone. And my son had just seen her board his plane under a false name. But why? Where was she going? Who had convinced her to do this? And most importantly, what danger was she in? The hours after that were a blur. My son texted me mid-flight, sneaking messages from the cockpit when he could. "Mom, she's not alone. She's sitting with a man. Late 30s. Beard. Keeps whispering to her. She looks scared." Every word he sent sliced through me. I called the airline. I called the police. But they told me there was nothing they could do until the plane landed. So I waited, terrified. When the plane touched down in New York, my son texted again. "She's gone. They left before I could stop them. She didn't even look back." That night, I cried harder than I ever had in my life. My little girl had vanished into the world with a stranger, and I didn't know why. The investigation began. The police traced her ticket purchase. It had been bought online, using a prepaid card. The man she was with had used a fake ID. They pulled up surveillance footage from the airport. And that's when I saw it with my own eyes. My daughter, walking beside him, her head down. He had his hand on her back, gently guiding her. She looked nervous, almost frightened, but she didn't resist. I wanted to scream, to reach into that footage and pull her out. The police suggested possibilities I didn't want to hear: grooming, trafficking, manipulation. But there was one thing they didn't know. A secret only I had kept. And it had come back to haunt me. 2 years earlier, after her father's death, I discovered something about my daughter. She had been chatting online with someone. A man. At first, I thought it was innocent. She was lonely, grieving, looking for comfort. But then I read the messages. He told her she was beautiful. He told her he understood her pain. He told her she didn't belong in a boring little town with a strict mother. And worst of all, he told her he loved her. I confronted her, furious and terrified. I told her it was wrong, that he was dangerous. I even reported the account. She swore she'd stop talking to him. But now, staring at that footage of her walking beside a man who matched his description perfectly, I knew the truth. She hadn't stopped. And now she was gone with him. Days turned into a week. Every second felt like torture. My son blamed himself. "I should have done something, Mom. I should have grabbed her before she got off the plane." But how could he? He was just a pilot, bound by rules, unable to interfere. Meanwhile, I went everywhere, police stations, airports, even the streets of New York, searching for any sign of her. Then one night, my phone buzzed. It was a text. From an unknown number. It was a photo. My daughter. She was sitting on a bed in a dimly lit room. Her face pale, her eyes red from crying. And behind her him. Smiling at the camera, his arm draped over her shoulders. The caption read, "She's mine now. Stop looking." I dropped the phone. My whole body shook. This wasn't just a runaway. This was an abduction. The police finally traced the phone to an abandoned motel on the outskirts of the city. A raid team went in. My son and I waited outside, clinging to each other, hearts pounding. Minutes later, they brought her out. My daughter. Alive. Shaken but alive. I ran to her, hugging her so tightly she could barely breathe. She sobbed into my chest, whispering, "I'm sorry, Mom. I thought he loved me. I thought he cared. I didn't know. I didn't know what he really wanted." The man was arrested. He had a record: fraud, grooming, even assault. He had preyed on girls before. And my daughter had almost become another lost name on his list. Bringing her home wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. She was broken, emotionally scarred, and full of guilt. She hated herself for being tricked. She hated me for not understanding sooner. And I hated myself for missing the signs. For believing her when she said she'd stop talking to him. For letting my guard down. But slowly, with therapy, with love, with patience, she began to heal. My son never forgave himself for not being able to stop her on that flight, but I told him the truth. If he hadn't recognized her, if he hadn't called me that night, we might never have found her. He saved her life, even if he didn't realize it. Months later, when things finally began to settle, my daughter confessed something that sent shivers down my spine. She told me she hadn't planned to leave that night. She hadn't packed her own bag. She hadn't even bought the ticket. He had done it all. He had been watching our house. He knew when I went to bed. He knew when she was alone. That night, she thought she was sneaking out for just a short meeting. But when she got in his car, he handed her the ticket. He told her it was already too late to turn back. And the most chilling part? He whispered in her ear, "Your brother will see you on the plane. That's how your mother will know you're mine now." I realized then, it hadn't been an accident. It hadn't been luck that my son saw her. That monster wanted us to suffer. He wanted us to know she was gone, to feel powerless, to believe she chose him over us. It was all part of his sick game. Today my daughter is safe, stronger, wiser. She's speaking out now, warning other teens about the dangers of online predators. But I still wake up at night, hearing my son's voice on the phone, trembling as he said, "Mom, she's on my flight." That call changed our lives forever. If you're a parent listening to this, please, never assume your child is too smart, too safe, or too protected to fall into a trap. Evil hides behind screens. It hides in kind words. It hides in promises of love. But there is always hope. There is always a way back. And sometimes, the very thing that terrifies you most becomes the moment that saves your child's life.